You put your life on the line for a millionaire. And I'm broke. I can't tell you how many times I've had to cash in change. This is, I gotta go into go and cash in this change. So yep, I put my life on the line for a millionaire. Millionaire gets to enjoy his life and gets to enjoy over his $400,000 worth of jewelry in his showcases, and gets to go to his $500,000 house, and has a lodge in Kentucky, I believe. As you know, I'm just saying, I got relatives that are millionaires that are worth, one's worth tens of millions of dollars, the other one's worth at least $1 million. And just saying, I can't tell you how many times I've had to take this walk. It's quite disheartening, I'm just saying, I'm not going to name names, but, I'm just going to say I'm just going to put it this way, I'm just going to say this person let this male and female into his jewelry store, and I was there. And he asked, basically how much you got to spend, how much money you got, you got to spend on a dime, and they threw out some price or whatever. Well, he ends up, and this is after the doors were locked, after closing time, I'm just saying after closing time, So he opens up the door, and, he talks to these people, and he asks, what do you want, and, so how much you got to spend, and the guy threw out a figure or something. So of course he opened up the door, even though closed for business already. Well, I'm sitting by the computer, and they come around to where I can see them and they can see me, and especially the male. The male was stunned. He looked like he was shocked. He was expecting this man to be by himself in this store. Well, to make a long story short, I noticed that something's wrong right off the bat. I'm just saying, I noticed something's wrong right off the bat, and I keep an eye on these people, and then I notice that this male and female are wearing rubber gloves, like clear rubber gloves, and I try to tell this guy, this person that owns this jewelry store, I tell him, I said, these people are wearing gloves. I said, there's something wrong. Something is wrong here. These people are up to no good. And you know what this guy tells me? Don't blow the sale. Don't blow the sale. I said, are you kidding me? I said, these people are here to rob. I said, there's something wrong. These people are up to no good. Okay, well, fast forward. Let's just fast forward. So I knew something was up. I mean, these people had clear plastic rubber gloves on, and, to make a long story short, it was a guy and a girl, and the girl looked like she was pregnant. And there was a bathroom in the back. There was a bathroom in the back of the store, and the girl was asking to go to use the restroom or whatever. Well, the guy says, go with her, show her where the restroom is, and, just stand, let her go to the bathroom or whatever, but stand, stand there. And, so even though I knew exactly what was going on, I just knew, So the girl, and this is going to play into the factor of it later. The girl, comes out of the bathroom or whatever and comes out, and she's wanting to try on jewelry and everything, and this guy's looking at me, I'm looking at him. I know, I sit back down at the computer, and there's a gun there at the computer, and I have my hand on the gun, and I'm looking at him, and he's looking at me, and I'm looking at him, and he's looking at me, and I know, I just know something's going on, So I take the gun in this room in the store, and I take the phone too, and I make a phone call to the owner's wife, and I tell the owner's wife what's going on. So she comes down to the store, it's about 15-20 minutes later, and she comes down to the store, and I tell her what's going on, and she says, yeah, I see it. I see something, something's not right here. So, and, so she ends up leaving. She walks out of the store. I don't know why, but she walks out of the store. So I'm there, with, I'm just saying I'm there, whatever, and I'm in this room, and, I have the gun, and I call the police, because I know something's going to happen. I know something's going down or whatever. Well, the guy comes around by the computer. The owner is showing jewelry to this girl that is pretending to be pregnant. Even after they're wearing gloves, even after they're wearing rubber gloves, somehow they take off the rubber gloves. And he's actually showing this girl, letting this girl try on jewelry out of the showcases. And this guy comes around the corner, and he's got a gun. He's got a gun in his hand. He's trying to sneak up on the male owner of this jewelry store, and I have the gun already loaded. It's like a .357. It's a super powerful gun, and I know what's happening. I know what's going to go down. I'm not ready for it, but I'm as ready as I can be, And the police have already been called, and the guy comes around the corner, and I have the gun pointed right at him. He turns around, towards me, and makes a sharp left, and points the gun at me. And within a split second, he could have shot me, no problem. I could have shot him, no problem. He could have killed me, no problem. I could have killed him, no problem. But I didn't. Now that could have been a fatal mistake on my part. Very well could have. He could have easily shot me, killed me, whatever. And, so what he did, this guy, all he did was lower his gun and turn around and go back the way he walked. And, a couple minutes later, basically, I told the male owner that the cops had been called. And he basically told them, he said, listen, we know what you're here to do. The cops are on their way. So we knew at that point right there, if something was going to happen, I was the only one with a loaded gun at that point. I've talked to the owner. I talked to the owner before about him having a gun or whatever and making changes to the store. But at that point right there, I was the only one in the whole entire store that had a loaded gun. So to make a long story short, these people, instead of shooting, instead of killing, instead of armed robbery, instead of all this stuff, they ended up leaving. And to make a long story short, they leave. The cops show up, and I tell them, and we tell them that we give them a description, and we tell them, and they end up catching these people down the road. And the girl, she makes a run for it, and the guy struggles too, and I believe they have to tase both of them. But here's the thing, the girl pretended to be pregnant, but she was not pregnant. She was not pregnant. I knew something was up from Jump Street. She had a the reason why she looked pregnant is she had a pillow. She had a pillow in where her stomach was. She had a roll of duct tape in the back and in her back. She had a pillowcase. She had a pillow, a pillowcase, a roll of tape, and she had a loaded gun. Okay? She was pretending to be pregnant, but instead, she had a pillow, she had a pillowcase, she had a roll of tape, and she had a loaded gun. That's what they caught her with. And the guy was wanted. The guy was already wanted, I believe, for armed robbery and writing bad checks. And so, I'm just saying, that's my story about, I'm just saying, I saved the life, of a millionaire. No, don't get me wrong. God up above, the great architect, God in Jesus' name saved his life. But you know what? I put my life on the line for his, and for him and his wife's merchandise. And I put my life on the line for his because he was the only one at that moment that was there. He locked the door, but he let these people in. He locked the door behind him. It was just him and I. And I told him that they were wearing rubber gloves, and I told him that they were up to no good. And you know what he said? Don't blow the sale. I said, are you effing kidding me? I used different words than that. I said, they're here to rob. They're here to, I told him, I said, they're up to no good. But his words were, do not blow the sale. And though that's what I'm saying. That's what makes this more poignant right here. I gotta walk in to this store and cash this change in. This is the only money that I have. I am broke. And this is the only money that I have. I have a relative who's worth tens of millions of dollars. I have another relative that's worth at least $1 million. And I gotta run in there and I gotta cash this change in. It's very disheartening. Very disheartening. So here I go. Taking the walk of shame. Opening up the door. And taking the walk of shame to go to the cash machine and dump this change in there and get that little ticket and turn it into dollar bills. So, in life, you gotta do what you gotta do sometimes, But I'm just saying, I put my life on the line to save a millionaire, and, he cries poor, He's like that guy Carlos that I said in that other video. I always used to ask Carlos. Carlos was a big guy, He wasn't wanting or needing for anything. Carlos was about 300-something pounds, wore a lot of heavy 18-karat gold, had a heavy 18-karat, he had all heavy 18-karat gold necklace, bracelets, rings, diamonds. He had, an 18-karat gold Rolex Presidential, smoked those big, long, hand-rolled Cuban cigars. He had them in a nice, genuine alligator case that he carried in his pocket. And I always said, hey, Carlos, how you doing? Carlos always said, without a fail, same response. I'm tired, hungry, and broke, Carlos said. And I'm just saying, this guy is the same way. He's a millionaire. He's got about $400,000 worth of jewelry. Got at least $1 million worth of property. And cries poor, cries poor. It's basically, he's just like Carlos. He has so much, but he just cries poor. Tired, hungry, and broke, he basically says, That's why my nickname for this guy is Ebenezer Scrooge, man. He's the worst part of Ebenezer Scrooge. He's not even where he turns into the nice Ebenezer Scrooge at the end for Bob Cratchit. This guy is just the worst part of Ebenezer Scrooge from Jump Street. Even if you put your life on the line to save this guy and his merchandise and everything, still, years and years later, I have to cash in this change, just to get a little bit of gas and a little bit of something to eat. I don't know. It's just disheartening. It's very just sad.